Okay, everybody, it's me, Pacific. This one's dedicated to you, Burn the Ender, because you sent me a video that disturbed me, and I'm glad you sent it to me. Florida, a school bus driver watched in horror as a bunch of kids jumped and beat and broke a kid's arm and stole his money on the school bus. The driver said he was afraid to intervene. Some school districts tell drivers they are not to intervene but to call dispatch, and the driver did call dispatch. The camera and audio picks up that. I'm going to weigh in on something. As all of you viewers that are my regulars and those tuning in, I am a school bus driver myself. I'm going to tell you what I wish that we had the right to do. I wish we had the right to carry mace, and I wish we had the right to carry a stun gun. Why? Some of these teenagers are bigger than me, and we need protection, and we have none. A standard school bus has a seating capacity of 71 passengers up to 77 or 78. Your Bluebird flat front end buses are usually 77 to 78 passengers. I think there are some school buses manufactured by Thomas that can carry 81 or more. That is 3 little kids to a seat. School districts and bus companies try to get the maximum seating capacity they can out of a bus, and instead of running 2 buses, costing more money, they'll squeeze 60, 70 junior high or high school students on a bus that is designed for 2 kids to a seat at that size. I had a route last year that had 67 kids. I had a kid stand up. When I asked him to move to the front, he was 200 pounds. He threatened me. He spit all over the windshield. He talked garbage to me using the F word, this and that. Big black bus aide female that I had who was older than me told him to sit down. He smarted off to her. Pacific is going to say something to all these teenage kids out here that act like that. When I grew up, if I'd ever talked to my grandpa or anybody as an adult authority, I would have gotten nailed. School districts used to allow corporal punishment. I think some still do in the South. California public schools used to allow SWATs. What is wrong with our kids today is that they think that we can't touch them, and they're right. I had a fight on a middle school route with 2 women, one bigger than me. I kept it from happening on the bus. It was starting to escalate. She jumped out of her seat. I put my arms around her midriff and held and restrained. No harm to her. She did not fight me because she respected me. But when she got off the bus, she clobbered the girl, and I called dispatch. I am not allowed to get off the bus and do anything. I do think the driver should be allowed to intervene, and I think we should be able to use whatever means necessary, whether it's the stick that punched the tires and checked the tire pressure, or a broom handle or something. When you're dealing with a mob mentality, I don't think that we should just stand there and call dispatch, because by the time dispatch gets somebody to you, the damage is done. And I think that bus drivers stand alone, unarmed, and totally defenseless against that many teenage students. Teenage students today are foul, most of them, using language and tactics, and they have descended on the level of Neanderthals. Watching that video, those kids were arrested. And it angers me that any kid that is doing that, obviously something is wrong with the parents. They said they tried to sell this kid drugs, and he either didn't want to do it or whatever, and they pounded him to pieces. I don't think school bus drivers have a fair chance out there against these kind of kids. And I'm tired of parents and our society saying that we're not allowed to touch these students, but students can hit us. Students can hit other kids, and we're supposed to stand by and do nothing. I will make a bold statement. I will lose my job if it comes to it. If somebody starts pounding on me, I'm not going to sit there and take it. That kid is going down. And what I mean by that is I will do whatever reasonable force necessary to get him off of me, restrained, and hold him there until the authorities come. The kids know they got the upper hand, and they can get on a public school bus and mouth off to us and talk stuff, and it disgusts me to no end. These kids are going to be in for a rude awakening when they become an adult out there in the adult world and their employers fire them immediately. These kids are not being taught coping skills, they're not being taught how to control themselves, and they're not being taught at all anything about respect. And teenagers define respect very self-centeredly. You diss me, you're on my poop list. Well, I'm sorry, partner, you're dissing everybody around you. You're lucky you haven't gotten nailed. Watching that video is disturbing, and I think that we drivers need to have more rights. We should not be subject, especially for the pay we receive. I will mention a company in Washington State, Spokane Public Schools, hired this company, contract company, came in 2008. Can't mention the name because they might sue. They pay $10.50 an hour, and kids are allowed to say F you to the bus driver. And exact true to form, I went to write up that student, and the supervisor said there's nothing we're going to be able to do about this because the school won't do anything about it. And because the school hires the contract company doesn't want to offend the district. And what's happened is school principals don't want to discipline the student because the parents will stamp their feet and throw a hissy fit and pull the student out of that school, whereby that school loses the tax dollars for that pupil head count. I kid you not. This is true to form. I had a black student who was every day pushing the boundaries. I tried to work with him. 2 days before school got out, he got up, stood up on the bus, and says, "Shut the F up, F you." This kid had mommy issues. His dad had abandoned him or whatever, and the kid was a complete horse's butt. I couldn't get anything done about the student. And what bothers me about this stuff is this is the direction our society's going. We give the rights to thugs, to gangbangers, to punk kids, and we punish good, honest citizens who believe in morals, values, giving the kids a safe ride to school. If anybody can help me make this video go viral, please do. There is something wrong in the land of the free, the home of the brave, when we, the authority figure, have been reduced to nothing. And kids like this have the upper hand and all the rights. And we have to wait until they go into a full-blown illegal melee that catches national attention before the police will do anything. But we write up kids and principals won't do anything about it. Schools won't do anything about it because they don't want to offend the parents. And all they're doing is fueling these kids even more that, we can do whatever we want on the bus. I want to go back to the old days. I'm tired of them thinking these junior high kids aren't tough. Minnesota, 25 below, kids acting up. I should have the right to stop the bus, open the door, and say, "Get out. No ride today. You will offer me an apology tomorrow before you get on, or you're not going to get transportation." We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to touch these kids. And I understand that there are drivers that have gone off the deep end, but let me tell you something, viewers. The number of bus drivers that have done inappropriate touching to students is about that big compared to the millions of school bus drivers out there annually that do their jobs well. And the problem with American media is they focus on the one scofflaw, and the American media loves to attack the one bad guy and a bunch of school bus drivers and get all of public thinking all school bus drivers are creeps and child molesters and dangerous to their students. But the same press doesn't say one thing about all of us good drivers that put up with garbage, bad traffic, bad weather conditions, and bad students day in and day out. It is disgusting. American society is fascinated with hip-hop, gangbanger rap, sleazy Hollywood stuff, the Kardashians, and garbage, and they endorse, promote, and applaud and cheer bad behavior. When that student told me to shut the F up, everybody on the bus gave him an applause. I was nice to those students. I greeted them every day. Several of them even talked to me. But with teenagers, they're a mob mentality. And it used to be that the bad guys were always in the minority. Now it's flipped the other way. And what sickens me is that a kid like that, he got away with it with me. He goes and does that as an adult in the adult world. Not everybody's politically correct. Somebody's going to plant one right between his eyes, and it would serve him right. What bothers me is that we have our buttons pushed all day long and we can't do anything about it, that we have to put up with that disrespect in Spokane for $10.50 an hour. Are you serious? Grain truck drivers make more than that, and grain don't talk back. There's something wrong in America. By the way, a word about Spokane Public Schools. They voted their administration more raises and gave them more raises while shutting more schools and hiring contract busing, and they don't want to discipline their students. I am disgusted with Spokane Public Schools, and Spokane is an armpit of a town, and I will comment on that more later. I have talked to people who are from there, I've talked to people from Coeur d'Alene, and I've talked to people who have lived in other places and lived in Spokane. Spokane is the dregs, literally. But this video is about school bus drivers. We don't have a lot of rights. Fortunately, I work for a district where we still got some old school people that still back us up. As long as we do what we're supposed to do, the cameras show that we're doing what we're supposed to do. We do have a few schools out there that don't like to handle discipline and think that all the kids just need to be more complimented. And it's like, well, you know what? I believe in being positive, but when you got such negative behavior, you still have to address that. Drivers have no protection. And I'm becoming more convinced on some of these junior high routes, they need to put a steel cage around the driver. We make scheduled stops and let them just do what they do back there. And at the end of the day, take a steam cleaner and hose the back of the bus out, take out all the seats, put benches in it, make it all sterile so that they can't destroy anything. Hey, you know what? We're coming to that, folks. This is Pacific, signing off. Bye-bye.